Stories that define the day from every corner of the planet. I'm Arjun Samar Mahendran and this is the Wednesday edition of the World Report. US President Donald Trump addressed reporters in the White House briefing room marking the first anniversary of his second term. During the address, he covered several topics ranging all the way from immigration crackdown to Nobel Peace Prizes and much more. Trump stated the importance of US enacting as the backbone of NATO given the volatile situation around Greenland. Meanwhile, on Iran, he reiterated that he had stopped hangings of over 800 people. Now, the statement comes even after the Iranian foreign minister rejected the president's claims. Abbas Araghchi, mind you, had previously bluntly stated that hanging is out of the question altogether. Meanwhile, on the UN, Trump expressed his displeasure, unsurprisingly, with the organization. The president went on to talk about his Nobel Prize snub. He pushed his claim of ending 8 wars, saying that no other president in American history has achieved anything remotely close. Listen in.
I think NATO's been good. Sometimes it's overrated, sometimes it's not. But we have a strong NATO. When I came here, we had a weak NATO. We had a NATO at 2%, and they weren't paying. We had a nothing NATO. NATO's, whether you like it or not, it's only as good as we are. If NATO doesn't have us, NATO is not very strong. With Iran, hang 837 people. And I let them be known that, and we let them know that if that happens, that will be a very bad day for them. And they decided not to do it.
Do you want your Board of Peace to replace the UN?
Well, it might. I mean, the UN just hasn't been very helpful. I'm a big fan of the UN potential, but it has never lived up to its potential. The UN should have settled every one of the wars that I settled. No president's probably ever settled one war. I don't know. Think of it. I did 8. The reason I do it is because it's easy for me to do. And I didn't do it for a Nobel Prize. I did it because I'm saving a lot of lives. I'm trying to settle the final one.
And my colleague Vishal Vivek joins us for more on this. Vishal, we heard Trump talk about NATO, take a pot shot at NATO, take a pot shot at the UN. He spoke about Greenland, warned Iran. And all of this just before emplaning for his flight to Davos, which, by the way, has just turned back. We were getting to hear. What does this, signify for the European counterparts who are waiting for him in Davos? Does this signify extended fireworks there in Europe, Vishal?
Well, if you would ask the same question a few days ago, I would have said that Iran would be bearing the brunt of Trump's wrath. But now it seems it's the EU's turn to do that, because we've seen that the back and forth between both the sides, between US and EU, has escalated to new levels in the last 12 hours or so, because we've heard reports that say that even EU is not ready to relent. EU is ready to respond to whatever Trump is threatening the EU with its own retaliatory tariffs, the so-called coercive act that the EU wants to deploy on the US side. It remains to be seen how this unfolds, because Trump is yet to land in Davos. He has taken off again for Davos. The speech that was supposed to be delivered around 7 p.m. IST, that would be delayed by about an hour or so, is what we are hearing. So then only we'll get to know what happens, because there doesn't seem to be any, stopping this conflict, this diplomatic conflict to say, because Mark Carney has also spoken really strong words in the last few hours. He's clearly stated that this is USA's hegemony at display. So these are really strong words coming from some of the biggest leaders on the global stage, and these leaders are USA's allies. So how this global world order has changed in the last few months, so we'll have to see how this unfolds in Davos.
My colleague Vishal Vivek tracking the latest there. Meanwhile, we stay with Trump, whose plane, Air Force One, is in fact returning to Joint Base Andrews as we speak after departing for Switzerland. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has said that the decision to return was made post-takeoff. The crew aboard identified a minor electrical issue and out of caution decided to turn around. Meanwhile, a reporter on board said the lights in the press cabin of the aircraft went out briefly after takeoff. Trump is set to board another aircraft upon his return and will continue his trip to the World Economic Forum in Switzerland's Davos. Trump's big address at Davos is expected around 7 p.m. or should I say was expected around 7 p.m. IST later today, which of course has now been moved ahead. Now, previously, Trump threatened tariffs against Denmark and 7 other NATO allies that have deployed troops in Greenland, while reiterating that there is no going back on his plan regarding the Arctic island. Criticizing Denmark, Trump said that Copenhagen failed to address the Russian threat and ignored NATO warnings on Greenland. He reiterated that now is the time, warning tariffs will remain in place until Greenland deal is locked. Meanwhile, European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen has issued a strong warning to Washington, saying President Donald Trump risks pushing transatlantic ties into a downward spiral. Calling for additional tariffs on allies a big mistake. She said Europe's response will be unflinching and united, while pledging cooperation with the US on Arctic security. Meanwhile, here's what Trump said before he left for the World Economic Forum.
I think more than anything else, what I'm going to be speaking about is the tremendous success that we've had in 1 year. I didn't think we could do it this fast. Think of it, it's just now 12 months. And, you know, I say it often, we have the most successful country in the world. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. And this country would have been absolutely stone cold dead. And I'm going to be talking about it. I'm going to be, because, you know, a lot of them could use some of the advice as to what we did. They need energy. You take a look at their energy policy, they're going to destroy themselves with what they're doing with the windmills and all the nonsense. They need energy help badly, or they're going to be in big trouble, and they need immigration help.
How far are you willing to go to acquire Greenland?
You'll find out.
How far are you willing to go to acquire Greenland?
You'll find out.
His decision to head to the World Economic Forum comes at one of the most turbulent moments in recent transatlantic relations. Traditionally, Davos has always been about a gathering where global leaders, CEOs, and policymakers talk about cooperation, economic growth, and rules-based global order. It's not unusual for a U.S. president to be there. Bill Clinton attended in 2000, and others have sent senior officials. But it's rare for an American president to make a personal appearance unless there's a strategic message to deliver. He's delivering the keynote, and his arrival is overshadowed, I would say, by a brewing tariff war with key European allies tied to his controversial push over Greenland, and this including escalation of tariffs on Denmark, on Germany, the UK, and others until the US secures control of Greenland. So that dispute has dominated conversations ahead of the forum, shifting attention from Davos's economic agenda to a geopolitical slowdown and a showdown, I would say. So Trump is expected to deliver his address. I would say that he will talk about unity more than exactly what's going on with tariffs. But we're just going to have to see. I think all ears are going to be on him. His team is also, by the way, engaging directly with business leaders and top officials, making this one of the largest U.S. delegations in the event's history. But coming amidst the tariffs, the transatlantic strain, as well as questions of American leadership and trade and security, Trump's presence signals more than what he talks about, a very deliberate attempt to assert U.S. economic positions on the world stage, even as allies bristle and markets take notice.
My colleague Vishnu Shom joins us straight from Ground Zero Davos for more on this story. Vishnu, frosty times to say the least. Now, there's intense focus on how Trump may very well engage European leaders here at Davos, but it also has a strong Indian presence. What more can you tell us about that, Vishnu?
As far as the Indian reaction is concerned, remember we've got senior ministers over here, for example, Ashwini Vaishnav. We've got an incredibly large Indian delegation here. Davos becomes a mini India every single year when the World Economic Forum is held. And there are Indian businessmen, business leaders who will be meeting Donald Trump tomorrow as well. So Trump will be talking business as well. But everybody is watching from the sidelines what's going to happen, because the implications on this, as we've already seen on global markets, is quite extreme. Therefore, everybody focusing on that speech of Donald Trump and what happens next, not least of all, Indian business leaders who have important links with the United States and Europe.
As my colleague Vishnu was rightly pointing out there's been tension simmering between Trump and his European counterparts for weeks together now. From taking pot shots to Macron and NATO chief Rutte to doubling down on his Greenland narrative, this report sums up what's happening and what the world can expect after the Davos showdown.
The mania that is Donald Trump, a gift that keeps on giving. The US president is out for war with Europe. Tariffs, takeovers, and a tirade. Trump declared his intentions to annex Greenland and take over the country against a sharp European pushback. He then threatened tariffs against those that opposed him and didn't give in.
And I may do that for Greenland too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security.
Greenland has been under NATO protection since 1949, and its fellow members have shown stern support against Trump's proposed operation. Trump threatened 10% tariffs first, then 25%. The message was clear: non-compliance comes with consequences. Now the tariff tsunami has got Trump's 100% go-ahead as well, as EU and its members protect their interests. The US president continued his war cry in social media too, sharing an image of hoisting the American flag in Greenland. He one-upped himself with another post of an altered map showing Greenland and Canada as a part of American territory. EU chief reiterated support to the Arctic nation, hitting back at Donald Trump's threats and said there could be an unflinching response from Brussels.
Full solidarity with Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. The sovereignty and integrity of their territory is non-negotiable.
A global pushback right before heading to the world's biggest platform, the World Economic Forum in Davos. Trump's ego-filled balloon hovers above Europe, while the whole world holds its breath, wondering what bombshell he'll drop next. NDTV Bureau Report.
Donald Trump will deliver a keynote address at Davos before hosting a high-level reception. That's what we're getting to learn as of now. Now, among those invited are 7 of India's most influential business figures, and in an exclusive, NDTV Profit First confirmed that there is a high-level meet scheduled between US President Donald Trump and top Indian industrialists. Now, this meet comes as a part of the World Economic Forum's annual meeting 2026 in Switzerland's Davos. The high-level session is set to take place later this evening. That was before Trump's plane, in fact, turned around. Now, the Indian contingent features a powerful cross-section of the country's tech and industrial sectors, including the likes of Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran, Wipro CEO Srini Pallia, and Bharti Enterprises founder Sunil Bharti Mittal, and of course, others.
I think his meetings on the sideline of the World Economic Forum are less about symbolism here, more about signaling priorities. And this year, India is, of course, firmly in focus. Trump has long viewed India as a strategic counterweight to China, both economically, geopolitically. And at Davos, engagements with these Indian leaders and business figures are expected to center on trade balance, defense cooperation, energy, and supply chain diversifications. Trump has repeatedly argued that while the US-India relationship is strong, and his relationship with Modi always has been strong, it must also be fair, pushing for greater market access and reciprocal trade terms. So beyond India, Trump's Davos interactions with European and other global leaders also reflect a consistent pattern. Rather than multilateral pledges, he favors very direct leader-to-leader engagement and what's going to be done here. His meetings are designed to reinforce leverage, linking security commitments, trade access, and investments to clearer expectations. So the 7 CEOs at the reception include Chandrasekaran, Sunil Bharti Mittal, Srini Pallia, the CEO of Infosys, Anish Shah, who's from the Mahindra Group, Sanjeev Bajaj from Bajaj Finserv, and Hari S. Bhartia, who's the founder and co-chairman, of course, of Jubilant Bhartia Group. Should be interesting.
We now turn our focus to Latin America, where US military forces have seized yet another sanctioned oil tanker linked to Venezuela. It's the 7th interception under President Trump's expanding oil crackdown, or the ever-expanding oil crackdown in the Caribbean. The Pentagon says the tanker Sagitta was apprehended without incident after operating in defiance of what the administration is now calling a US quarantine on sanctioned vessels. The operation was carried out in support of Homeland Security alongside the Coast Guard and the US Justice Department. US Southern Command says the message is clear. Only oil that is properly authorized by the US and Washington will be allowed to leave Venezuela. Over in West Asia, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has accepted Donald Trump's invitation to join the Board of Peace. Netanyahu's office made the announcement, and Netanyahu himself is yet to comment on the matter. Meanwhile, Israel has joined Morocco, the UAE, Vietnam and many others in accepting Donald Trump's invite. Now, the board is an initiative aimed at resolving conflicts globally, starting with the Gaza Strip. Trump is set to chair the board for life. And Trump's controversial Gaza Board of Peace has raised several questions. The US president has sent out invitations to several countries to join this board. But which countries will accept the grand invite? Here's a special report.
I'm a big fan of the UN potential, but it has never lived up to its potential. The UN should have settled every one of the wars that I settled.
The peace president has a new objective, and it appears to rival the United Nations. US President Donald Trump recently launched what he's calling a historic new international body, the Board of Peace. Originally built as a mechanism to help end the war in Gaza, the initiative has rapidly morphed into something far more ambitious and far more controversial. Trump has invited roughly 60 countries to join this board, with the hope of positioning it as a new forum for resolving global conflict. While Morocco's King Mohammed VI accepted a spot on Monday, becoming the first Arab leader to join. UAE became one of the first to express support. Vietnam, Kazakhstan, Hungary and Argentina also have signed on. But many key powers have stayed silent or expressed hesitation, with reports suggesting key ally France won't be joining. Critics argue that Trump's Board of Peace looks less like a neutral peace engine and more like a parallel global institution, one that could undermine the very authority of the UN. And as India now considers whether to accept its invitation, experts say New Delhi should think twice before jumping in. Reports highlight several risks. The board structure places disproportionate influence in the hands of a few major players. With the UN and many world leaders watching very closely, Trump's bold new diplomatic gambit may very well reshape or further fracture the global world order. Bureau Report for NDTV World. Now we take you to West Europe, where a Barcelona commuter train crashed on Tuesday after a retaining wall fell onto the tracks. The deadly crash killed at least one person and injured 37 others. The crash in northern Spain came just 2 days after a separate deadly train collision in the country's south. The train collision killed at least 42 people in the country's south and injured dozens more. We get you some reactions.
O la persona fallecida, la identidad, eso pues posteriormente se tendrá que aclarar. Lo que sí que le puedo decir es que de estas personas estaban 5 graves y una de ellas estaba con un atrapamiento físico que llamamos nosotros importante. A partir de aquí pues hemos tenido que hacer maniobras de excarceración y nos ha requerido unas maniobras ciertamente complejas, pero bueno, pues al cabo de un tiempo le hemos podido liberar y entregarla pues a los compañeros del SEM, sanitarios, para que pudieran hacer pues la atención sanitaria correspondiente.
We stay with Spain, where King Felipe and Queen Letizia visited a hospital in Cordoba, where those injured in a deadly train accident remain under care. The royal couple also visited the site of the accident in Admos and greeted emergency workers. They went on to interact with some local residents as well, who helped in the initial stages of the rescue. Emergency workers, meanwhile, are searching for more victims in the wreckage after the accident in southern Spain killed at least 42 people. Meanwhile, listen in to what the King and Queen of Spain had to say.
Lo primero también es reconocer la altísima profesionalidad y la dedicación en la entrega de todos los que han estado implicados en atender la emergencia, vengan de donde vengan, la voluntad de todas las administraciones de arrimar el hombro, de aportar los medios y las capacidades que pudieran, de coordinarlo todo, como siempre en una emergencia es fundamental.
El valor que supone ser conscientes de esa vulnerabilidad compartida y también el valor de tantas personas profesionales y vecinos que han querido identificarse con ese valor y dar lo que tenían, su capacidad profesional o lo que podían ofrecer a estas personas, ese dolor compartido y esa identificación que también es importante.
Stay with the region, where the northern lights lit up the sky over many parts of Germany overnight into Tuesday. According to the German Weather Service, this was caused by a geomagnetic solar storm. Due to the strength of the solar storm, the lights could be seen as far away as the Alps during the night. Shifting our focus to Southeast Asia, where Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif inaugurated a Pizza Hut outlet in Sialkot. However, hours after this inauguration, or this so-called inauguration, Pizza Hut Pakistan put out a statement calling it an unauthorized outlet. That's correct. You see the statement right there on your TV sets. Now, the outlet said the store's brand was being falsely used. The store, in fact, had also filed a legal complaint against relevant authorities. Meanwhile, memes of Khwaja Asif at the inauguration are going viral online. The internet was quick to react and, to say the least, circulated viral posts around that awkward situation. And with that, it's time we step into a short break. Much more lined up on the other side. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back. Over to the world of business, where stocks slumped in trading on Wall Street after US President Donald Trump's tariff threats. Now, Trump threatened to hit 8 NATO members with new tariffs as tensions escalate over the Greenland goal. Bitcoin, which can find favor when traditional markets waver, fell more than 3% this time worryingly. The S&P Index 500 index fell 2%, pulling back further from the record it set early last week. The losses were widespread and led by technology stocks. Retailers, banks and industrial companies also fell sharply. Over in Europe, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, a major upcoming trade deal. She announced that the European Union and India are on the cusp of signing a trade deal. The announcement comes amid India's long-pending trade deal with the US. The leader highlighted her interest in doing business with growing centers like New Delhi. Listen into what she said.
Right after Davos, the next weekend, I will travel to India. There's still work to do, but we are on the cusp of a historic trade agreement. Indeed, some call it the mother of all deals.
News from the sportsverse, where Senegal's national team received a hero's welcome in Dakar after winning the Africa Cup of Nations. Thousands of fans packed the capital streets on Tuesday. The fans lined up the team's parade route to celebrate the Teranga Lions' second continental title. The team rolled through the city in an open-top bus, hoisting the trophy and waving Senegalese flags. Supporters, meanwhile, perched on rooftops and billboards for a better view, as you see on your screens right there. Many also wearing national jerseys. Meanwhile, we get you some reactions.
En tant que Sénégalaise, je suis là pour accueillir nos braves lions de la Teranga qui viennent de remporter la coupe. On va fêter avec cette victoire, amplement méritée.
Je suis là pour supporter notre équipe. On est fiers des lions du Sénégal.
And finally, over to the world of entertainment, where the new film Mercy brought up questions about AI on the carpet as Chris Pratt and Chris Sullivan attended its New York premiere. The film stars Chris Pratt as a detective who's accused of murdering his wife. He has 90 minutes to prove his innocence to an advanced artificial intelligence judge played by Ferguson. Now, this very same judge, very interestingly, whom he once helped bring into existence before the system decides his fate. We get your reaction.
This is not a think piece on AI. So my first thoughts weren't like, how can we contribute to the greater conversation around AI? Inevitably, everyone's talking about it right now. This is essentially a thrill ride. This is sheer entertainment. And if you walk away with questions, it's probably more a sign of the times than it is based on the intention of everybody on the filmmaking team.
And well, those are all the curated updates we have for you this Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care and have a wonderful day.